Welcome to Modelers Mods, ladies and gentlemen. So this is another episode of Blaster Chat. Today's episode it's a two-part episode. And it's all going to be rolled into one, so that's not a big deal. The first part is going to be, I saw that now we've lost a total of 3 Nerf YouTubers this year. Coop772 basically stopped broadcasting and whatnot. Then, as of a week ago or so, we've had Brad from American Foam also retire as well. And now we've had Warhawk from Nerf Talk. Now, I never met Coop. I've never really talked to Brad like that. I have talked to Nerf Talk on several occasions. And I'll be honest with you, Nerf Talk really had some nice content. I really do miss him. I mean, I think he was probably one of the YouTubers that I actually enjoyed watching just because of his energy. And that's a lot of things with people, when I choose to watch somebody, I look for energy and stuff like that, which he certainly has. He was very matter of fact about his videos, which I absolutely enjoy. So I do wish him the best of luck in his future endeavors. Now, the second part of this video is modification. What is modification? Okay, to me, modification means making something your own. Simple. At least it sounds simple, doesn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, well, this is what I mean by that. There's basically, before 2000, okay, there was what was known as Nerf 1.0, or at least that's what I choose to call it. That's what a few other people in the community call it as well. It just kind of works with it. Nerf 1.0 is basically the 160 strikes that have been loved by the community, the rapid strikes on 2 and 3S, the modified hyperfires, the retaliators that do like 170, with like $300 worth of parts in them. So that's Nerf 1.0. What happened in 2020 was that they started releasing Pro Series blasters. Dart started first with the 1.0, the 1.1, and the Nexus Pro. And those all came out around 2020. Okay, the Nexus came out in summer of 2020, around August or July or August, I want to say, if I remember right. I could look at my notes and tell you. But in any event, because of that kind of changed a lot of things in modification, such as the modifications nowadays are a lot easier and a lot simple to do. They're a lot more simpler to do. You see what I'm saying? Kind of like back in the day, if you wanted an overpowered springer like this or a Caliburn or something like that, there was only a couple places to get it from. One place you could obviously get it from was through Captain Slug himself. He would print the blaster, he would sell you the hardware, and you could assemble it yourself, or for a small nominal fee, he could assemble it for you. Now, Slug went out of business. He closed down shop about 2 years. He's trying to reopen his shop now. But because of Slug, that's how the Caliburns came to be well known. He's the designer of the Caliburn. He's the designer of the Talon Claw. He's the designer of the Bullpup Talon Claw, and of a host of other blasters, But what that did was that allowed people to buy 3D printed blasters. To give you an idea, my U-Series Caliburn, Mr. OP, that blaster was actually built by Captain Slug. And I believe he told me the number was 1572 on it. See, he keeps track of every one of his Caliburns that he personally puts together. And that's what's my number. It's like 1572 or something. But as I was saying, now, because of that, it got a little bit easier for people to get blasters. But now, since Slug has licensed his designs out to a bunch of shops like Etsy, to Out of Darts, to Silver Fox, to Frontline, and a whole bunch of other people, you can get a Caliburn anywhere now. Okay, and they all hit just as hard as they should. The only thing is where to buy it from. You can buy from anybody. That's up to you where you spend your money from. It's not my job to tell you to do that. So that's what it is with that. But as I said, though, modification got easier. Okay, nowadays, blasters like this, like with the emergence of Dart Zone and Worker, blasters like this have become much more prevalent in the community, and this is where the discussion in the community begins. The discussion in the community begins something like this: people from pre 2020. Right, keep in mind I've been in the community since 2019. Okay, but a lot of old school modders, people that have been around since like 2015 or even maybe before that, and they're used to dumping a lot of money and really thinking outside the box to get their blasters to do 160, 200, whatever, But now with a few dollars, you can take this blaster and it'll do 250, for $125. It kind of kills the market for 3D printed blasters and for modification. What people in the community are saying is that people that buy blasters like this or buy blasters like the Harrier or the Kern or the Blase or things like that, a lot of the old school modders are saying, well, that's not really modification. That's just dumping parts into it to get it to do something. Well, isn't that what modification really is? Putting parts in a blaster, trying to get better performance out of it or lesser performance. It's just food for thought. I have people all the time that sit there and say, well, Sandman, you can't mod. And I just kind of laugh at them. And I mean, obviously I know how to do something. You see what I'm saying? I definitely know how to tune a blaster. But they say that to me all the time. And I just kind of laugh at it because I consider the people it comes from, and well, the story behind that. You just consider the source 90% of the time, and that's what happens. But like I said, though, that's modification. Modification is making something your own. There's two ways to do it. There's a cosmetic mod, which is changing the outside appearance of a blaster to making it look like something other than what it looks like now, or internal modifications. Internal modifications are things like making the blaster hit hard, by either dumping in a bigger spring load, adding metal parts to it, or lengthening the barrel. You have to remember something. When you work on a Springer, okay, because I know Springers very well, I choose not to mess around with flywheels too much just because my hands shake really bad, so I can't solder like that. It is what it is. But like I say, that's why I don't do a lot of flywheel blasters. But yet I prefer Springers. They're way more tunable. Such as this guy here. This guy does, 260 or so, nice blaster. I've had this blaster shoot up over 300, and I've had to actually dumb down the spring load a little bit just because I was afraid I was going to mess with the internals too much, even though I've got metal plunger rod and head and catch in here as well from Saber. And that's another thing, people say, well, maybe you should craft your own parts, maybe you should do that. Well, that's nice, but now with metal internals being so cheap and so readily available, see, that's just it. The parts have gotten cheaper and they've gotten readily available. I believe personally we're coming into a new golden age of modification for blasters. And I legitimately mean that because of companies like Worker, and ZWQ and all the other ones, it's gotten a lot easier to tune a blaster. Hell, Worker sells parts for these blasters, as soon as they launch. Or if not, the community will have parts designed within 6 months. It's the truth. Look at this blaster here, and look at the Harrier. The Harrier came out, we had metal parts for it inside of 3 months. That's when the first plunger rods came out from Saber. Okay? Like I said, but that's part of modification. I believe we're entering a new golden age of modification. So much so where you don't have to sit there and sweat and slave over tuning a blaster to get little or no gain. Nowadays, if you have deep enough pockets, you could say buy a Seagull or buy a Harrier, and very simple for maybe $50 in parts. You'll have the blaster doing 250, 300 very easily. That's just it. So really, what's going on now is that it's modification, yes, but it's gotten a lot easier, a hell of a lot easier to do. To give you an idea, I come from the time where the retaliators owned the field, and the stripes did 160 and all that, But nowadays, 2-300 is the way to go, and so many blasters nowadays can be tuned to 300 plus. The Blase, if you got a metal kit in it and the right spring, that blaster would do 400. The MK4, that blaster shoots 220 out of the box. All you do is change out the spring load and flip over the dart seat, the spring seat, and that blaster will do well over 300. No bullshit. But that's exactly what it is. It's gotten a lot easier to tune blasters. And like I said, though, I see people in the community that always say, well, that's not modification. That's not how it works. Blah, 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 blah. You should take your time. You should do this first. You should do this blaster first. Why? It's your business what you play with and what you tune. I don't tell you how to tune your blasters. Don't tell us how to do ours. And those people that sit there and say, well, no, you can't mod, you can't do this, blah, blah, blah. Those people, that's because that's the school that they were brought up in. That's the one thing that I don't really agree with in the community. If somebody new to the community, if somebody says that to them, they're going to turn around and leave. I know I would. The one thing is that I had a lot of people that were willing to help me. But like I said, it's gotten really simple to mod nowadays. All you really have to know is if you buy a blaster like this, the only thing that you really need is a spring, to start off with, and then you can buy the fancy metal parts later. After 5,000 shots, the plastic internals will wear out on these, and you'll have to switch to metal parts anyway. And people are saying, well, if you're dropping a 1-to-1 metal part in, that's not modification. Sure it is. You're changing out parts. But that's my simple take on this. Modification nowadays has gotten so simple that even a caveman can do it, for lack of better terms. But in any event, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching my video on what is modification and the brief news on Nerf Talk and American Foam leaving the community. Until next time, this is Myler's Mods signing off.